Alright, what up YouTube? It's the Night Saint here back with another video. And this video is going to be about toxic masculinity and how it affected me growing up. And of course, not the toxic masculinity as like the way people like to say it and speak about it nowadays. I think toxic masculinity has to deal with like the lack of it. And even in forms where, like I said, I think that a lot of women exude toxic masculinity where it's very forced, it's very like I said, it make you cringe when you see it. It's like how sometimes I like get girls, how dykes be trying to act like a dude, and it's like it's just cringy, and it's like you're doing too much. It's like that. So yeah, like I said, growing up, I didn't really have a lot of masculine figures around my household. So the things that I did have, like I said, I had my mother. My mother wasn't there, but because I have media, and now of course I had the people I went around every day and I seen. So, and many times, you know, let's take it from the woman aspect or the woman idea. Let's say with women, you know, women. So since the fathers are gone, the women, some women, they pick up masculine traits to, you know, try to make up for the father. And like I said, most of the time, that always literally leads to like the son, you know, having, you know. In my case, let's say, let me just speak from my own experience. From my experience, it led to me being turning more inwardly. Let's say, I had a couple of masculine figures in my life, but they was always like my mother's, like maybe fathers, and you know, just family members. Some of them, like I said, but most of my, and I can say objectively that my family, I don't have like a lot of good masculine people in my family. Like I have very corrupt people, and like in their mind, in their heart, and it's very hard to steer clear from that. So, and of course, like I said, even if I try to steer clear, it's like, you know, of course, that's the thing about kids. I think kids absorb everything, whether, like I said, it's good or bad, and it's like whatever they absorb is what they become. So, in many cases, like I said, I'm not like a criminal. I haven't had like criminal thoughts or things like that. But it's been times where, like I said, just negative thoughts and like just doing negative things that I know that I shouldn't be doing. You know, just because, like, you know, just that inner animal and just the ability of just being swayed and just pulled. You know. So yeah, I was really raised with a mother she's always at work. She was very stoic of a person. When I was young, I seen my mother cry a couple times, but it wasn't really, it's not even about the crying aspect, it's more about just the emotional aspect of a woman. I would believe that a lot of women are supposed to have, they don't have. So even I see them, my sister siblings, like they're very emotionless in a way, and they're very cold-hearted in a way. And like I said, her boys are more like of the emotional ones, but that's just because of, you know, the imbalance and the inverse of like the roles. Like when I speak to my father, like I said, I've been around my father a couple times, and my father is very feminine of a person. Like I said, he's, you know, like he's very lazy of an individual. Like I said, he just sits in his own. He doesn't really strive for anything, and he just, like I said, he's his own person. But of course, he's not in my life. But it's like whenever I talk to him now, it's like I see why I turned out the way I turned out. And it's with me, it's kind of like a hard battle when trying to learn how to become more masculine, and just more aggressive with my own life and just with people around me, you know. And that's one thing I observed from my father, that of course, like I said, even though he wasn't around, it somehow still affected me in a way. So yeah, the form of toxic masculinity that my mother, you know, she bestowed was, you know, just the emotionless, very void, always helping, but very just void of feeling. So I grew up without the love of my mother, you know. So it made a lot of things harder for me to do. And without the lack of a father's like mindfulness and like the logic, I think that's what caused me like to really become like a worker, like a worker bee. Like I said, my mom was a good worker. I got a lot of good workers in my family, but nobody know how to actively think. And on top of that, even my father didn't know how to actively think. So like I said, I was always gonna have a disadvantage, even if he was an active parent in my life. But that still caused me to be at a disadvantage. So yeah. So like I said, in my mother's case, it was just toxic masculinity, but in my father's case, it was just the lack of masculinity that he, let's say, was accustomed to, or he was, you know, he used, you know. Of course, like I said, I don't know how he was raised. Like I said, I know my grandfather went to work all the time. He was very, like I said, everybody speak very good of him. Like I said, it seemed like he did a lot for our family, like I said, but I don't know how his father, well, my father's father and him, you know, interacted, what caused him to really be raised with a lack of, you know, masculinity or just masculine principle. So yeah, so a lot of that got caught under inner web, not inner web, but like in the web where, you know, some of my father's like baddest traits, like I said, like lying or just cheating and all these type of crooked things, you know, they get passed on subconsciously from like the kid, you know, and all of it is like a sin of like your parents. So in many ways, his lack of masculinity caused me to be very cowardice growing up. He was cowardly, and I'm still trying to get some of that cowardice out, because like I said, if I don't, I'm not gonna be anything in my life. Like I said, I'm not gonna be able to look at myself in the mirror, and it's hard for myself to do that as is. Like I said, I think when you start to gain your conscience and your conscience starts to work properly, it's hard for you to really be able to operate without, you know, certain things, you know. Like I think a lot of people don't have consciences nowadays, and like I said, I think if I'm being honest, I just got back into contact with my conscience like earlier this year, and like I said, it's the hardest things like to deal with. It's like it's like another part of like taming the inner beast, and I think the inner beast has to do with your emotions, but also just unleashing it as well. Just that I feel like I feel very weak of a person, and that's just how I am as of right now. But like I said, I don't think I'm gonna be like that. Like I said, my next year plan is really gonna transform me as an individual. But growing up, I just felt like a weak individual, and a lot of that got to do with the toxic forms of masculinity, or just the lack of masculinity I received as a young boy, especially in my first 7 years of life, with just the unstableness, the very unkept, the very disorganized, emotional, and emotionless times, you know, without like healthy learning and introversion, also just integration. It's hard for me not to, it was all these, like my introversion is like, well, me being introverted or introvert, turn it into, I'm tweaking, my introversion and me just, you know, starting to think and peel back parts of my brain and really figure out what's, you know, what takes me, you know, what keeps me going, and understanding like how to integrate it into my daily life, with just being present and being able to move forward with my life has been like some of the hardest things I ever tried to struggle with because of my lack of foundation as a young kid. But that's how it affects me on my day-to-day. But like I said, it's either I do that, or, you know, I can, like I said, I can just suffer. And like I said, I'd rather live my life every day trying my best to keep myself and just elevate myself to a better like mental, you know, plane, so I don't have to be able to, so I don't, you know, have to live through the suffering that I see my parents living through, my brothers and sisters living through, that, you know. And it's hard to see other people going through like a mental, you know, like hamster wheel of like suffering. It's like, it's very sad to see, and I don't plan on living like that. That's just me, and I refuse to. So yeah, if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Thank you.